the reason we say Black Lives Matter is different to the reason that they say all lives matter. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're saying it within a particular context. When they say all lives matter, it is a disrespectful counter-argument seeking to remove the significance and relevance of the idea of Black Lives Matter. There are 4 reasons why the African Holocaust against African people was the worst ever, most brutal and cruel series and set of crimes against humanity. 1, the number of black people who were killed. Conservative estimate by the United Nations, close to 200 million. 2, the duration of the period of time, for almost 400 years, when the Jewish Holocaust and World War II lasted barely 6 years. 3, the psychological, social, and spiritual, mental impact and damage that it did to African people. And 4, the intergenerational as well as the intergenerational impact that it had from the people who were enslaved, which was carried on to their subsequent generations. Now, when you take all of that into context and bear in mind that African people were the only people who were beaten, raped, tortured, enslaved by the millions, we were the only people who were not only whipped, tortured, and brutalized, but they would cut open the stomach of the pregnant black woman, whip out the fetus, slam it on the ground, crush it under their boot heel. They would tie our hands and legs to horses and get them to run in 4 different directions, calling it quartering and drawing. They would bury us in our necks, up to our necks in the sand, and put honey on our heads and get vicious bees and ants to attack us. They would drown us in the rivers and the lakes with heavy stones around our necks. They would cut off a hand, cut off a limb, use a hot iron to brand us and kill us in the millions under the law, because the state of Virginia in the 1600s passed the Casual Killing Act, which made it legal for any white person to kill any black person for as long as that black person disobeyed a direct instruction to return to a slave plantation that they were registered on. No other race of people went through this. The loss and robbery of our name, language, religion, culture, morals, folkways, laws, and norms are being disconnected and dispossessed from their glorious heritage. And then you miseducate a whole people, teach them that they were savage in jungles, barbaric in Africa with no language or civilization. And then through that enslavement, even after slavery was over, they continued to lynch and arbitrarily execute us, even if they suspected us of a crime. Then they went on to make all kinds of chemical and biological germ warfare, viruses and diseases against us, such as HIV, AIDS, and a number of experiments which killed us by the millions. And then after all of that, we are being beaten and killed, executed by law enforcement officers in the street, from Trayvon Martin to Jordan Davis to Walter Scott to our beloved brother George Floyd. All of those cases, and don't forget in Trinidad and Tobago as well, Kadeem Phillip, Shaquem, you had Nigel Caesar, Shaquille McCoy, 17-year-old Ricardo Muhammad, and Tristan Cobbler. And then after all of those truths, and we say Black Lives Matter, you want to come and say White Lives Matter to disrespect the lives of those black people? Imagine you have 10 students who are dining around the table to eat, and 9 of them are served and 1 is left out. And then the teacher says, but Jeff needs to eat. But the server says they all need to eat. Not only have they disrespected Jeff, but they have totally neglected, rejected, and abandoned his need for equality. So maybe some of us are saying it because we're hoping that the master will hear us and see us as an ally, but black people get conscious. Yes, we know the value of all human life, but no other people in all the annals of history have ever suffered the brutal crimes against humanity that black people have suffered. And if you want to equate that with the lives of those who were the perpetrators, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, for every 1,000 years that the white race has been on planet Earth, they have killed 100 million people. And then you will call that racism for me saying it, but you won't even identify it as racism for them doing it. That is how brainwashed we have become. Black Lives Matter, beloved.